Welcome to the Hotel Tech Podcast. This is the show where we tackle your most pressing issues to bring your business more wins. Keeping up with technology is challenging. Our experts are here to help you figure it all out. Here's your hosts, Glenn Houseman and Estella Hale.
Hey everybody, and welcome back to the Hotel Tech Podcast with me, your co-host, Glenn Houseman. And of course, this wouldn't be the Hotel Tech Podcast and all of its amazing goodness if I didn't have with me my incredible, awesome co-host, Miss Estella Hale, who's the Chief Product Evangelist with SHR. Of course, that stands for Scepter Hospitality Resources. And I love myself some Estella because she is so smart, so interesting, so engaging, and one of the top tech minds in our amazing hospitality industry. Estella, how are you today?
I am doing great. Thank you so much, Glenn. I'm honestly just so thankful for really receiving so much that we have from the podcast so far, from the guests to the audience to the feedback, and just want to thank everyone that listens, everyone that participates on the show, and everyone that emails us with ideas of what are the next topic that they want us to tackle. That really allows us to reach out to our very, very relevant and very, very great minds that we have in our podcast, just like the one we have today.
Yes, absolutely, for sure. I got to tell you, Estella, I'm having so much fun. I've had the most incredible winter, and now we're into spring, traveling all over the United States, even some places in Europe, and everywhere I go, people are telling me that they're listening to the show, that they're learning from the show, and fortunately enough, that they're loving the show. Mostly you, Estella, but they're absolutely loving the show, and they accept me as part of this as well. I'm having so much fun relaying all of this great information to you, and we are going to keep it going on throughout this entire year. I know I, for one, am really excited. We're working out an opportunity for us to be at the High Tech Conference this coming June in Minneapolis, and I can't wait to actually be there in person, bringing the Hotel Tech Podcast to life in a new venue.
Yeah, very exciting. Very exciting.
So let's get on with today's show. We have a great guest today coming all the way from another part of the world. I think he's in Switzerland, and I'm talking about Mr. Vivek Bhogaraju. He's the Director of Revenue Management Solutions with Expedia Group. Vivek, welcome aboard.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's great to be on. I've heard many of your podcasts, and it's kind of surreal that I'm on this one.
I know how you feel. It's kind of surreal. I'm on this one too. So, Vivek, this is great, and it's kind of fun to have someone like you on the show because you're kind of like, Expedia is kind of like that boogeyman out there, and I've spent the last few years trying to help hoteliers understand that you're valuable, that you're important, that you're helping hoteliers all over the world make profitability. And today we're going to talk a little bit about how you consider revenue management, some of the issues that you are seeing in revenue management, but most importantly, telling us some things that might make us uncomfortable with revenue management, but that we absolutely have to hear. So I think the first question I have for you, Vivek, before we get into the specifics is, where are we with the state of revenue management in the hospitality industry? And what are your expectations for how people could be successful with a smart revenue management platform?
Great. So I think we are at a crossroads in where we think about revenue management, but also revenue management adoption and understanding. And here's why. So revenue management technology is not new, right? It's been around for close to about 30 plus years. If you go back and think about when are the first off-the-shelf tools that were available, software as a service, or whether they were given off as a license. But when was technology available? It was 30 years back. And very recently, about probably close to last year, when we did a market sizing here at Expedia, we found that less than 3% of hotels globally use revenue management technology. That is shocking.
Less than 3%?
Less than 3%.
Wow.
3% is probably what the stat we put out, but actually the number is lower than that. And that sounds astonishing. It sounds shocking, but it also is an opportunity. It's an opportunity for everybody to think through and say, what has worked? what has not worked, how can we really impact our hotel partners, and how can we help hotels make better decisions? Now, if I were to tell you that revenue management technology is just one indicator of whether you call maturity or whether you call it progress or whether you call it the state of the revenue management industry, but every hotel makes a decision every day on what to price, how to compete, how to grow, right, and how to beat their budgets or performance indicators or reach their financial objectives. So all these decisions are being made for the vast majority of hotels, close to 97%, but they are made without using data-driven decision-making, without using scalable techniques such as technology and, sophisticated practices that might help hotels to make better decisions. So that is astounding, but also I see it as an opportunity. I see it as an opportunity for us to fundamentally rethink what we can do differently so that the next time we're talking about this, the numbers are dramatically different.
Thank you, Vivek. I actually recently read an article that you authored on FocusWire in January of this year, which I recommend to our entire audience to go look for it, download it, 11 Uncomfortable Truths about Hotel Revenue Management. It's really packed with insights. And some of my favorite that you kind of touched on a little bit there is that in hospitality and hotels, every day you reset the clock. Our inventory, what we have, is perishable. It is not the type of inventory that you can sell the next day and get some value for it. If that night is gone, that inventory has perished. You can no longer go back and sell it again. So taking into consideration from the one side that every day you reset the clock, you have perishable inventory, but that every day also revenue managers, with or without technology, face that moment in the morning of now what? And for the 97% that do not use technology, as you mentioned, this is a great opportunity to answer that now what every morning when they come in and the clock is reset. But how about those that have some form of technology, data and something in front of them, some dashboard or something, but they're still facing that question. Now what? What if there's no valuable insights there?
So I think the way to think about this is it is a hyper intensive and competitive team sport. I don't think there is a better team sport than revenue management. Think about hospitality, technology, or just you talk about general.
Are you including
travel,
cricket
right?
in your statement?
I knew that Glenn had to come up with that. But if you think about winners and losers, but also about gainers, and if you think about how competitive that can be, it is competitive. So it can be brutal. But at the same time, the way I look at this is you have an opportunity to start afresh every single day. And if you think about a hotel today, no matter where you're located, right? Whether you're in Americas, you're in Europe, or in Asia, or the Middle East, no matter where you're located, if you have an opportunity every day to become 1% better at what you're doing, whether it is data analysis, whether it's competitive intelligence, whether it's making timely decisions, whether it's making sure that sales, marketing, and revenue management are aligned, I think you have an opportunity to make a difference. And that's what I find so exciting, because yes, it's stressful. Yes, every day the clock resets. But guess what? Tomorrow morning the clock resets and you start a fresh new game in terms of how you think about your strategy and how you want to get better at it.
Okay, so then how are companies looking in terms of their revenue management strategy? Because I'm having a feeling that people are not leveraging the data that they have in order to make the best possible decisions. And I think this goes back to the only 3% of people are very focused right now on a coherent revenue management strategy. So what are some of the things that we need to start thinking about as the other 97% in order to begin to find success?
So first things first is start small. There is no reason why you can't start small. You can't start in a very finite way in terms of the way you can influence revenue management strategy. it always starts with the unattractive stuff. It always starts with, how do you compile data? Where do you get your data from? Is your data recent? Is it refreshed on a timely basis? Do you have access to it in a sustainable, scalable manner? And the data points that we are collecting, are they being stored properly? Are we asking the right questions, and are we storing them properly? Often what I see is with implementations or with sophisticated revenue management techniques, people often not ask these questions and go straight to get me a great looking dashboard, get me a mobile app, get me some, super fancy third party data that I can make some wonderful decisions with. Well, it kind of starts with discipline. Revenue management is all about discipline. And if you start small, if you ask the right questions, okay, are we getting the daily data that we need to get about our business? Do we have visibility over it? Are we able to control it and manipulate it so we can better understand our business? Probably it starts from there. Once we understand our business, then the question we need to ask is, where are the gaps? Where are the areas where you can accentuate a strategy or accentuate an outreach so that you can fill in those gaps in terms of the demand that you're getting? So I often, if you ask the revenue management purists, they'll always say, start with segmentation. And one of the reasons why they say that, if you think about it, is having a very good understanding of your business. So you know where your guests are coming from. You know what kind of guests stay at your hotel. What are you competing for? And where do you stand in terms of the competitive set? So it starts with these basic fundamental building blocks, and then you build on top of it. If I think about one thing that I always kind of, in my recent conversations, I've been thinking deeper about what are the revenue management skills of the future, not for today, but where should we be focusing on? And one of those skills that I feel, because of the advent of technology and how I feel, this is just going to grow. Technology is going to be more accessible at a cheaper price point, be more cost effective, and models will become more and more convenient. But I think one of the skills that I see missing, and that can be a very good starting point, is how do you experiment? A lot of things are unknown in revenue management strategy. You may know your market, you may know your guests, you may know your competitive set, but you do not know the reactions to certain things that you would do. And the only way to do that is in a very nice, small, fenced manner, right? You start a small experiment, whether it's a price increase, it's a price adjustment, it's a kind of campaign. Start small, build confidence, show results to your colleagues, to your peers, so that you can gain allies and support from the rest of the team, and then continue to build on things. I sometimes think about these things as CBEs, confidence building measures or confidence building initiatives. So you build some of those things and then you build on top of it. Nobody goes from 0 to 100, on revenue management strategy. It's an evolution and it's a discipline, but I think it takes persistence, because again, when we started this conversation, we talked about the clock resetting, and you have an opportunity to restart and get better at it every single day.
And what's interesting about that, Vivek, is that I love the idea of experimentation, right? And being able to either show success or failure in smaller, shorter chunks where you can iterate. But I think what you mentioned first is getting the first building blocks. Is my data stale or is it recent? I can't experiment with stale data. Am I being honest with myself and what I really need? If I'm a destination property and I expect a certain pickup right before a weekend, but the reality is that the data that I have is from yesterday, and my competitor down the street might be, I don't know, launching a promotion or lowering a rate an hour before I'm about to leave for the day, I cannot expect the same pickup that I would if that had not happened. So I love the idea of experimentation once the property has had those bases of the data that they need, but honestly, but also once they're honest with themselves and what they will be lacking in order for those experiments to be relevant, because if not, it might create some bias of just continuing the way they're doing things.
Yeah, completely agree. And you know what? The other thing which I'm noticing is that we talk a lot about, the numbers broadly, could be discouraging, that the vast majority of hotels are not doing anything. But what I'm also increasingly finding is that innovation is happening in pockets around the world. And one of the advents of technology and data and the tools that are available is that if you have a sort of intent and a vision to drive forward, if you have the support from your team, no matter how big you are or how small you are, you can make the difference. And I'm seeing that when I speak to our hotel partners, I see no matter where they're located, how big their size, they could be a standalone hotel with very few resources, but they're being very focused and intentional about it. They're seeing results. And those are the hotels that outperform their comp set, and they sometimes beat the bigger chains and the bigger brands, and kind of, they fight about their weight level. But that's possible today because technology is a very, very good level playing field in terms of how you can use some of these tools. It's the practices and the people that kind of empower the technology and kind of push it beyond the boundaries.
Excellent. Now, Vivek, we've got to take a quick break, but while we're on break, I want you to think about a great example of what you just talked about to help explain to our listeners what they could be doing to take those chances, to experiment, to find some successes based on some of the risks that other people have taken. So think about that, and I'll be right back after this message. The Sendine Hospitality Cloud is an integrated technology platform driving marketing and sales performance in more than 30,000 hotels around the globe. Their award-winning CRM suite integrates with hundreds of technology platforms to capture intent, preferences, past behavior, and satisfaction for every guest. Learn more at Sendine.com. That's CENDYN.com. And we are back with the Hotel Tech Podcast. And Vivek, just before we took commercial break, I threw you the challenge to give us one great explanation using a real-life case study. You don't have to tell us the names if you're uncomfortable with that, of how a company took these initial steps, found some success, and built that confidence.
Perfect. So one of our hotel partners that I met late last year is an independent hotel in Washington, D.C. And one of the unique situations this revenue manager found herself in is that they just came off a brand, and the owners decided to deflag and become an independent hotel. Now, just think about it. A competitive market as competitive as Washington, D.C. It's an established market. And right in the city center is a hotel that used to be one of the big brands and had a whole book of business and a history and everything behind it. And overnight, it became an independent hotel with a brand new identity. What an amazing challenge, first of all, to be in, right? For that revenue manager to prove herself. But here's what she did. She started incremental. She started very small. She set out a vision. And one of the things she did is using concepts. So one of the things she did is, listen, we have a historical concept that the brand had with a bunch of brand relevant competitors. Our owners want another concept where we feel like this is where we are going to fight for our business. This is what our present is. Because we are newly independent, we are trying to create and establish an identity in this market. At the same time, we want an aspirational concept of where we want to go in the future. And so we're going to have a baseline, we're going to have a present, and then we're going to have a future. And how can we make tactical steps, tactical things that we can do every day to make ourselves relevant, at the same time make progress on that journey? I think one of the cool things here is there is an immediate realization that this is not going to be an overnight effort. It is not a one-quarter thing and then suddenly you're going to achieve all your financial objectives, but it is going to be a journey. And that's one of the things that I see the most about revenue managers that are successful. They're able to align their team on objectives, on a journey, and say that we are going to make incredible progress, but we're going to make a step at a time, and we're going to do a quarter at a time with measurable results. And as soon as we meet those results, guess what? I want more resources, and I want more help from you to achieve greater heights. This is a classic team sport example, but this is also a very good revenue manager who's probably using today what I would call as another skill a future skill of a revenue manager, and that is influence management. Today's revenue manager is not about crunching data, is not about running models. It's all about that because you have technology to do that and they're smarter and we're getting better at it. But it's about who's going to collaborate the most effectively across cross-functional teams to align on a vision. So this ninja kind of warrior that I always think about it in my mind is the revenue manager. He or she is the revenue management ninja that is going to align all these revenue producing functions around a hotel and say, guess what, guys? I've got something to supercharge our strategy. And our way to do this is using data. We'll make good decisions. We'll make effective decisions. And you all are going to help me deploy it. And this hotel had year over year in the first year, I met her towards the end of that transition, so in December last year, double-digit ADR, RevPAR growth impact. Wow. Owners super successful and happy with their decision of deflagging. But essentially, she had a financial objective, and the brand is getting recognized in the marketplace because they're doing smart guest acquisition to get people known and get into their hotel. And they suddenly say, okay, that's a hotel that we recognize. The location matters. And she used a couple of things. Of course, she is a avid, Expedia Ref Plus user. So I'm going to make a plug here.
You should.
But one of the things that she's using very smartly, we have something within our tool that we offer market and sub-market occupancy forecasts. So in real time, we tell hotels what forecast the market is going to end up at a year out. And we're also forecasting what the sub-market is forecasted at. So she's using some of these insights to come up with, hey, here's what my sub-market is at. That's what I'm competing for. But this is the macro level demand that is hitting DC. And DC being a market is very peculiar that depending upon the time of the year, they have different international source markets. And so she's capitalizing on some of this thing. Very smart operator, right? And when you would look at them, you'd say it's an independent hotel, it's a standalone hotel. How is she able to do this? And she's competing with all the chains. And she's beating them at both RevPAR index and market share, right? And so that is a credible story. And there are many like that. And there are many like that, not only in the United States, but I see them in Southeast Asia. I see them in the Middle East. I see them, our top markets for Rev Plus engagement are all over the world. And I get the pleasure of listening to all these success stories come in. It just reassures me that if you put your mind to it and if you rally your team around with it, you can get great results.
Oh, that's a great story, Vivek. And I think really the illustration of it, I can see that because it's knowing the data, knowing the market, and having the vision of where you want to take it, then allows you to have tools like Rev Plus and say, okay, this is where I want to take it. So how does technology allow me to bridge that and bring the results that I have for the vision? So I really like the idea of envisioning this as an influencer that will use data, technology, tools, the power of an OTA, the power of knowing your markets and submarkets and being able to do something about it, such as becoming a successful independent. And so, again, we started the podcast by saying that the small number of adoption on technology for revenue management. But at the same time, I think this is a great segue into our listeners having set out their vision for the market and what they want to achieve, so that when they evaluate the tools, because the adoption is going to go higher, there's only so much data that someone can analyze, to really, like this example that you gave, analyze the tools that are there for them based on how they foresee they can accomplish the vision, and not use technology for technology's sake, but use technology to help them bridge what it is that they've set the vision to accomplish. So they're a little bit of diplomats too.
Yeah, and I think one of the common analogies I usually give is think about any revenue management technology provider, right? If you go and ask them today, no matter who they are, what size they are, how big or how recent they've been at it, or how many years they've been at it. If you go and ask them today, hey, among all of your hotel partners that use your tool, do all of them get the same uplift from your technology? And I'll tell you the answer. The answer is no, it's not. And what is the reason? And what is the difference in that? They all have the same technology accessible to them. They have the similar configuration. They have the same tools, same level of sophistication in terms of the technology available to them. But how come they all have varying results? And it all comes down to how good you are at collaborating with your team, but also deploying the solution in a way that it works for your business. And I think we always underestimate the skill involved in adopting technology, irrespective of the type of technology. You could make the same argument about CRM. You could make the same argument about reputation. You could make the same argument about revenue management, right? The tools are there, the platforms are available, but it is the skill required how to adopt them and how to make them your own and how to make a team rally around those platforms so that you can gain the most from them. And I think that is a skill that we need to talk a little bit more about, because guess what? The travel technology ecosystem is only going to get more sophisticated, and there are going to be more and more offerings that we need to kind of integrate together.
So what we're really talking about then is making the smart business decision to put in the discipline to take the time to do this the right way. It's not flipping a light switch, it's filling up a bathtub, which takes a lot longer time. So you want to pull everybody together on your team to be able to understand this and to create a set of expectations that are realistic. Now, for the owners that are out there, you're all being crunched. You're having a harder time pushing rates without smart revenue management. Your labor costs are going up. Your material costs are going up. Everything is getting more expensive out there for operations. So if you're one of the 97% of companies that haven't yet adopted a revenue management strategy, if you put in that discipline, if you put in that effort, if you take the time to do it right, then you're going to be able to get better rates over time and help cover those expenses that are going up and create higher sense of profitability just by taking the time to do this the right way. Vivek, is that a correct statement?
It is, and I think one of the under talked about skills in all of this is how do you manage technology projects? How do you manage implementation timeline? Again, it's one of those things, like I started off talking about the data. This is another skill that we don't talk about it a lot. Guess what? Anything that you do today, any initiative around travel, or any initiative in a hotel, if you want to talk about being it sustainable, being it repeatable, having it scale, there is going to be a play of a technology in there so that it is all those things and it can be consistently delivered over time. But the nuances of how you deploy technology, how you manage that, how do you do vendor management? How do you think about which technology solution to choose? Because there are multiple choices. All these skills, I think we need to talk about a little bit more, because guess what? As important as adopting is, it's also equally important how you make the right choice of choosing a solution that best fits your business and not trying to evolve your business to fit a technology solution that is out there. So you're absolutely right. But I think these, in some ways, some of the things that I was talking about in terms of this, what I call as the skills of the future, are going to become more and more critical as we make progress here.
Yeah, and I think back of the example that you shared, Vivek, really that vision of moving for this revenue manager in DC, of that vision of how am I going to move from historic, looking back, being a brand, to predictive? How am I going to predict what I want and achieve from markets and submarkets? So I think that is the move that we will see into that revenue management excellence. And I love that as such a voice for revenue management for so many years, that you're bringing this up and that we all kind of just reinforce these concepts that you're bringing up. So this is great.
Excellent. Vivek, any final thoughts before we wrap up today's show?
I think, irrespective of how you're doing revenue management today, I think revenue management is our industry way of saying predictive analytics, right? So, irrespective of how you're doing revenue management today, my only appeal to any hoteliers listening today is to say that use data to make good decisions. Use data to make timely decisions. Make sure that you're questioning where the data is coming from. Make sure that you're building a culture within your organization where there is pride in making decisions using data and making timely decisions that are effective. And so if you think about some of these things, if you start building that culture and if you're building those small incremental confidence building measures, I think every organization, every hotel can succeed not only at revenue management, but any technology adoption or any initiative that they choose, because they're going to make better decisions, they're going to make relevant decisions, and they'll always meet their financial objectives. And what more would you want than a marketplace that is thriving, hotels that are making good, timely decisions, and everybody is exceeding their revenue performance goals? I mean, that is a scenario that we all will benefit from, that we all aspire for. So I would say anybody who's out there who's trying to make a difference, don't worry about how small the initiative is up front. Get started, and you will see that people will rally around you as they see high quality decisions being made with data and your decisions affecting revenue performance. So get started today. No excuses.
Reset that clock.
Yeah. Any final thoughts, Estella?
Well, no, just to remind Vivek, this is an opportunity for you to tell us more about Rev Plus and more about the Expedia initiative on Rev Plus.
No, that's sure. So if you think about, our remit within Expedia Group is to continue to listen to our hotel partners and see what they're telling us in terms of areas where they want us to innovate. And one of the areas that we've heard loud and clear is they want better tools and more choice with data-driven decision-making around pricing and forecasting. And that, in a sense, was the genesis of Rev Plus, Expedia's revenue management solution. It was in response to our hotel partners urging us to do more. So today we have more than 50,000 hotel partners that use Rev Plus today. They trust it for its pricing, for its forecasting, and we've had a hell of a ride because it's been truly exciting. This product is very, very new. We are still in our early stages and in asking the questions of who we want to be when we grow up. But our partners are sharing incredible feedback with us. At the Expedia Partner Conference in Vegas, Explore, we, for the first time, shared that hotel partners who engage with Rev Plus are able to grow their revenue 21% faster than their competitors said.
Wow.
It's an incredible testament to us listening to our partners and we heading in the right direction. But again, we are just getting started. We hope to do more, listen more to our partners, and hopefully help elevate the revenue management practices across the globe.
Excellent. Well, I highly recommend that everybody check in with Expedia and see how you could improve your financial bottom line with the services and opportunities they are presenting to you. Well, what a great episode. Vivek, thank you so much for being here, and I want to thank everyone else for being here today. Again, we're looking forward to seeing each and every one of you when we are at High Tech in Minneapolis come mid-June. And you can find this show recording and all past episodes of the Hotel Tech Podcast on SHR's website. Just find them easily enough at shr.global. And of course, on the No Vacancy Network at novacancynews.com, on our iTunes feed, on our Google Play feed, and everywhere else you like to get your podcast. Just look up for No Vacancy and you'll find the Hotel Tech Podcast right there. And if you want to get our weekly newsletter, just drop us a line. It's easy enough. Text the word hotel to 66866. Just type the word hotel to the text number 66866. It'll ask you for your email address, and then you will be registered for our weekly newsletter. I want to thank everyone for being here, especially Mr. Vivek Bhogaraju, Director of Revenue Management Solutions with Expedia Group, and my amazing co-host, Estella Hale. And we'll see you next time on the Hotel Tech Podcast. Thanks for listening.